Good afternoon, my beautiful friends. Today, I want to speak about overcoming rejection. Now, as I've said time and time again, that our personalities are shaped by the experiences that we have, and it stems from the experiences that we have even in our childhood. And most of the problems that we face today, if we go back to our childhood, we will see where the seed was planted, and over time in our development, that seed was watered and it grew into a tree. And most of the time, we do not identify where the root of our real problem is, and therefore we do not know how to change some of the things that we see in ourselves that we might want to change, so that we can become enlightened and empowered in ourselves in terms of building our own confidence and projecting that positive energy, because what you put out is what you get back, and everything is in alignment. Everything is basically about the energy that comes from a person, even as nature is about energy, and what you put out, nature eventually brings back to you. So being able to tap into the right type of energetical forces to put out in the atmosphere will automatically change how your life and destiny goes, because you would know how to harness that positive thought energy so that things will come to you from a positive direction. So I want to see if I can bring some kind of clarity. Um, I must say I am not a psychologist. I did introduction to psychology, so I have a little idea, but I am not a psychologist. I have heard things, over the years in terms of um, people speak on certain topics that I understand, but I can only talk from my own experience or from my own observation. But my observation doesn't mean that I am wrong, and therefore it could help somebody. And who it helps, I'm thankful. Some people may not even identify with it, because at this point they may not even be going through anything that resonates with what I'm saying. So therefore, it may not be something that they could identify now, but at some point in life, we all go through similar circumstances. Different um, events take place, but basically same outcome, and it might resonate at a later date. But I remember looking at this, I don't know if it's a documentary, now I can't remember, but it was a topic that spoke about, the development of a child in the womb, and how the child absorbs, you know, information passing through the mother and coming from the mother. And if the mother, has a feeling of, sadness about the child absorbs that. And or if the mother has a desire for a boy child, the child, and it's a girl, the child tend to come out more like a tomboy, and if you wanted a girl, the boy child will come out more like a little bit looking more feminine or behaving more feminine. And to me, I saw some truth in it. And if it happens for these things, it also happens for rejection. We know that not everyone that came into the earth came under good circumstances or situations where, our parents were so happy to have us. By and large, the majority of persons that come into the earth, our parents weren't ready for us. They weren't planning on us. But you see, the Creator planned for us. So they were kind of pushed into a situation where eventually they accepted the fact that, listen, I am going to have a baby. And they accepted it. But the initial reaction would have been one of rejection. Some people never overcome the rejection of a child, because sometimes they have several other children and they weren't prepared to have another child. And sometimes they resent, the child that they make, because of the fact that It come at a time where I'm already under pressure and now I have another child to see about. And that rejection is absorbed into that child, even from a baby. And as that child grows older, sometimes that resentment and rejection is portrayed from the parents, even in the home, from other siblings who may um, heckle, children heckle one another real badly and put, these scars in us. We put scars in each other from a child. I remember going through several of that as a child, where they used to call me flat nose, and I used to call them back chunky eye, and we called one another names, but it wasn't something that was nice. It was actually something that hurt, and it make you feel like, you were less than or something was wrong with you, or let me say your mother and your father not living together and they had a bad breakup and you resemble your father. Every time your mother sees, like she see your father and she tend to treat you much more different to how she treat the other children because, it just reminds you so much of your father and it's not about you. But you don't understand that it's not about you. So you internalizing the fact that, the very person that made you is also rejecting you. And other people in society, where they go to school, friends heckle you, that adds to your level of rejection. And you develop this way of thinking that you're never good enough. You always feel as though you have to prove yourself to somebody because you are not good enough. And what you project is what you attract. And I'm speaking here about my own experience because you tend to attract now people who make you feel even more rejected, and that you're never good enough. And you always have to try to prove yourself to show them, that you are worthy to be in their presence, so to speak. Because even as we get older, we tend to attract certain type of friends, certain type of relationships. And if you look at it, people are not open to that purity of expression to each other, genuine expression. They tend to play games with each other. And you see this happening more in interaction between men and women as we get older and we choose life partners. You tend to see a lot of rejection taking place in the relations, even the courtship. You would have a courtship, a guy courting a young lady, and he was taught that, listen, don't express yourself as a man, because if you show too much love and attention, you would be advantaged. This is the concept that we have coming into a relationship where if I show too much attention, I would be, taken advantage of, and I will even experience some form of rejection. So therefore, I don't express myself like that. As a matter of fact, I do quite the opposite. Because psychologically, if somebody abuses you and you spend enough time with the abuser, you tend to gravitate to the abuser. I have learned that when children are in an abusive situation, they tend to treat the abuser sometimes better than they would treat the other parent. Let's say they have two parents and one is abusive. They stick up on the abusive one more, and you tell yourself, okay, she really love this person, but it's because that child, boy, male or female, is trying to get the abuser to like them. And therefore, they're doing everything in their power to get the abuser, to please the abuser so that the abuser doesn't abuse them. So they tend to stick up on the abuser, like, like if they so love this person. And even in, let's say, you were kidnapped or you have a kidnapper, after a while, you spend time in the presence of the kidnapper and you become accustomed to that person, and you could end up developing relationship a relationship in the sense that you feel that you love that person, and it's not true. You see, the mind is a tricky thing, eh? And the mind try to adjust to whatever situation we find ourselves in. So we tend to um, program ourselves into believing that what we going through is normal and right. when in truth and in fact it is abnormal and it's not right. But in order for the mind to get a certain level of peace, it does that. So I will go back again because this is one of the areas where we find we always reject and abuse each other tremendously in relationships. And let me say, this guy's quoting, he would tend to not pay you any attention. Or if he is paying you attention, he gives you minimal attention. He gives you just enough attention to keep you focused on him to the point where you are actually pursuing him, but he's not giving you enough attention to really give you a commitment in the relationship. He keeps you stringing along to the point that it's as if you're just one of the people that he's interested in. Now, whether he's interested in you or not, is sometimes he's quite interested, but he's not going to give you the attention that you need. And you, because you come from a background where you have been rejected, even as a child, you tell yourself you need to prove something to him to show him why you are worthy of his attention. So you are doing everything in your ability to make him happy and to make him see that you are good enough. And he continues to give you less and just enough to keep you there. If he realizes you're pulling away, he comes and gives you a little more to keep you holding on, hoping that yes, maybe. And you build up in yourself this imagination that maybe if you hold out long enough, he will give you what you want. And just maybe. And there are women, and this is go for both men and women, because women play this game too, with some men. And that stems from you having that lack of self-worth in who you are. And that you don't understand that you deserve better. And I am speaking this because this is also something that I had to overcome. Okay? So it's not, I'm speaking this because I know. I'm speaking this because I've gone through this. I've played those games. I've settled for less. I've allowed people to play me and waste my time. And then only to realize that, listen, when I had enough to walk away, and in walking away, if you notice when you walk away, the same person that you were actually trying to impress is now trying to impress you. So all the time they had this emotion for you, but they didn't show it because they were taught that you're supposed to keep you in a certain state. But this is not the way it's supposed to be. It is not supposed to be like that because it means that you are settling for a situation that is really uncomfortable for you. And we have this determination that like the more somebody rejects us is the more we gravitate towards them. Remember, I told you that as a child is a form of abuse. As a child, you will stick up under the abuser to please them. And that is the same kind of concept happens in a relationship because this person is abusing you, not physically, but mentally abusing you. They're playing mind games with you. I know of men and women who stay in relationship with people that they should have separated themselves from a very long time ago. And they could have gotten in a better relationship with somebody else who would have appreciated them and see the value of them. But they hold on and they hold on in the hope that something can happen. Women are holding on to relationship with men for 8 and 9 years and still cannot get out of this person what they really want, which is a commitment. And they can't get the commitment they want. And most of your youthful time, when you could have committed to somebody else, is going. When you could have had a family with somebody else, is bypassing you. Because you are just, every time you're about to leave, this person would come and just give you enough to keep you stringing along. And we need to wake up and smell and know when we are being stringed along and get out of it, rather than sit down there and take that kind of abuse. Both men and women, there are men and women who are married to husband and wife, and sometimes the wife will sleep with everything under the sun. And the husband just sitting down there taking the abuse, and after a while you become accustomed to something. And when I say accustomed to something, I would use this as an example. In our country, in the Caribbean, crime rate wasn't very high initially. And I remember growing up, you hear a murder or 2 murders, or even if you get 10 murders for the year, that was a big thing. Oh my God, the whole country going crazy. Hear how much murders for the year. But as time go by, the number of murders increase and the brutality of murders increase, and people become immune and numb to it. And what I am saying is this: we could also become so accustomed to a situation that we become numb to it, and we don't realize that we're in an abusive situation, and we become happy in our abuse because our body, as I say, adjusts to it, and we take it as normal, when in truth and in fact it is not normal. So we can hold on in relationships where we are not even receiving what a quarter of what we're supposed to receive, and stay in that relationship for years and bypass other persons who are in a better position to step up and give you what you want in a relationship, and yet still you would not even see that person because you are so fixed and accustomed to this abusive relationship that you don't even seem to want the change. You don't even seem to want that joy and happiness because you can't perceive that level of happiness and equal give and take in a relationship because you have become so accustomed to this abuse. And this video is really to help people to recognize when you are in an abusive situation. And I was getting back to the husband and wife. Sometimes with her husband, is there with a woman and she is abusing this man. She's having relationships with everything under the sun. Sometimes some of them will go so far they would have relationship with even a friend. And these men are sitting down in these relationships going through this. I know people who actually do that. I have known people who actually are in relationship going through this type of abuse and still in the relationship with this person. And this person know you would not go because they have done everything to you under the sun and they know you're not leaving. And they continue to abuse you. And people are saying, but is he stupid? It happens with women too. Is she stupid? She can't see what is going on and she is in it. As I say, you become accustomed and immune to it. So after the first two affairs, or you have a boyfriend or whoever the case may be, and he wants to be this player, the first hurts tremendously when you realize he's going outside. That is where all they start to fight because you realize, okay, yes, and he promised he wouldn't do it again. And then the second one comes and he does it again. But the second one doesn't impact as bad as the first one because, you experienced it before. And you're still upset and you're quarreling and you're taking and you're all fighting and he's saying he ain't going to do it again. And he go on the third one. By the time the fourth one, you ain't even bothering to fight again, You just come to a place of acceptance that is how it's going to be. And you decide to settle in that. But let you decide to do the same thing. And you will see all hell will break loose with him. So you have to know your worth. What you demand is what you're going to get. If you allow people to abuse you, then people will abuse you. People will take advantage of you. But if you tell yourself that I am deserving better, it's okay to be single sometimes. Even in your workplace, sometimes you're applying and you could work as a good worker too. And you could work hard and you could do the job, but they keep bypassing you and they're promoting everybody else excepting you. You don't have to try to please them. You could also look for another job, or you could do something that could give you what you're looking for outside of the job. You don't just sit down and pine in the job and complain and get on like if everybody, whole world owe you something, and look how they're always bypassing me and I is always calling on me to do the job. You rise above that. You do and generate something. You become your own boss, build your own business, or do something on the side that you could actually start to live the life you want to live and spend the kind of money you want to spend, because money is not restricted to a job. The whole of creation is in alignment with you for whatever you want. And if you put out your thoughts in a negative, heavy way, then you will get nothing from the universe. But if you value yourself and you decide to go in the next direction and build something for yourself, You are able to create a boss position for yourself. And the people who rejected you come to see the worth of who you were in the workplace now. Because if you open your own business and your business had to strive, they turn and they watch you now like, but she had all that potential all the time. We did, I mean, we know she had the potential, but we're using it to our advantage. And I believe that is not everybody is cut out for a job. Some people God wants to give a business. And therefore, your rejection is really for you to elevate and find yourself and find your own self-worth and step up out. But we were so programmed to believe that we had to have an 8 to 4 job. But an 8 to 4 job can't turn you into a millionaire. An 8 to 4 job can't give you a legacy to leave behind. It will just give you enough to be comfortable, and basically when you leave the workplace, you may not even be able to survive on the pension that they're giving you. But all your life you invested in somebody else's business who didn't appreciate you. And the same knowledge that you have for somebody else's business, you could have do it in your business. Or if you're an accountant or if you're doing accounts, and you could do that, you could do accounting for small firms. Put out an ad and show that you can do accounting for small businesses who don't have accounting, who don't have an accountant, and charge a fee. There's so many ways to make money, but we don't open our eyes to see it. Because we have this bridle in our eyes like horses that are running that they don't want to see and decide that we're looking at one thing and one thing only. And therefore we sit down in situations and we take the rejection and we blame people, and we say to ourselves, well, maybe that's why I deserve, but you are deserving of more. You just have to see that you deserve more, and therefore you will receive more. So overcoming rejection is all within you. How you perceive yourself, others is going to perceive you, and others are going to see your level of insecurity, that you lack confidence in yourself, and they're going to use that weakness to continue to abuse you. So you have to start to strengthen your weaknesses. And I remember saying in relationships, and there was a time I was in a situation, and as I said, this abuse of people authority, because sometimes, what is nasty to me, especially in a relationship, if somebody's coming to you and you're not interested in them, it doesn't hurt to say, listen, I'm not interested. Better you tell that person I'm not interested and let that person go about the business than you're making the person feel you're interested and you know very well you're playing games. You're stringing them along. And then for them to have to realize a year from now, you waste a year or two on the person's life for them to realize that, listen, you on games. Tell the person as it is, I am not interested. I respect a person who speaks their mind, I'm not interested. So therefore, the person could put that behind them and move on to something else. It's not a nice thing. It's a wicked thing, as a matter of fact, to do people have that kind of behavior with people. And I always prefer the direct approach. And there was one gentleman that came into my life that I always had a lot of respect for. He was younger than me, but his mannerism and how he dealt with things, projected to me that even though he was younger than me, he was more man than plenty other men I've ever met. Because one thing he never did was play games. And I admire him for that. All my life, he's one of the persons that I respected as a man. You understand? Because he never come along and say, you see this game that people just play, pretending that they ain't like you or they don't want you or they don't think, and then we pretending this for next year and a half or something. So, I don't have time for that. I had too much of things to do for that. I don't have time for them kind of games. I want you to know that I'm interested in you. And if you're interested in me too, we can have a relationship. Point blank. That's it. No games. And that relationship started off one time straight to the point. He put his card on the table. I put my card on the table. And we got into it. And that relationship was a beautiful relationship. We never had a problem between us. But sometimes you don't have a problem between you, but you have friends and family and exes who have a problem and who want to do what to do to break up your relationship. Sometimes they go so far, they get themselves involved in all kind of witchcraft to break up a relationship that you are having because they feel that you shouldn't be in a relationship. And it has nothing to do with you and the person. You and the person actually has no problem between all you. Because all they come to a level of understanding where all they can speak all the truth and respect each other still. So people will do that. But I just a side note I was on. But my mentioning this is to show how the direct approach brought about respect and honor to both parties. There was no game play. Nobody didn't play no game with nobody and pretend and put no one person through a hole that are hurt, because what that game play does, even though the person might still be with you, it puts scars in the relationship very early. Very early, they start to develop scars in the relationship because the person is feeling a sense of rejection from you. And even if after you come and accept that person always have that sense of rejection in the relationship going forward. So there's a damage already to that relationship taking place. And you tell yourself that this is how it's supposed to be, but you actually damaging the foundation that you want to build. So it's better if you come straight and put your card on the table and say, listen, the XYZ, this is it. You put your thing XYZ and you say, this is it. And another thing that he said in that relationship is, listen to me, let me tell you something. You see, this is an accusation of, if you see me talking to a woman, that I'm a woman, or if I'm a woman, let me tell you something. One thing you can do is stop me from taking a woman if I want to take a woman. So you see that, I'm not going through that. If you ask me a question and I answer you, believe what I tell you is true. I ain't going through that story over and over and over. And it was really amazing, but we never had that problem either. Because as I say, we was always straightforward and honest with each other. And you really can't stop somebody from honing if they want to hone in. But what you can do if they're doing that is either you stay or you move on. End of story. And if you stay, then don't make it an issue if you decide to accept that kind of treatment. But if you don't want that kind of treatment, then you step to your curve and move on. So sometimes we were programmed wrong. And we continue to accept rejection because we feel that is what we deserve. But until you rise up and tell yourself that you deserve better, and if you're in a situation and a man or a woman can't give you what you want in that relationship, then you spend that energy and time giving your own self what you want. Because what you want don't have to come from a man or it don't have to come from a woman. What you want could come from you. Because you would spend your time and energy treating somebody else's right, while that somebody else is not treating you right or not even appreciating you. And you are spending energy and time to treat that person right in spite of the fact that that person is rejecting you. How about turning that person, the attention from that person onto yourself? And that is what I did in order to develop and understand my own self-worth. Because I was also a victim of going through that rejection, and it started from my childhood. As a matter of fact, it started before I was born, because my father never wanted me, and he tried to get my mother to abort me. In many ways, you go through rejection, and it stays with you. You understand? I go through rejection on the job, I go through rejection in relationships, I go through rejection on many occasions. People tend to always bring this rejection onto you in order to weaken you, in order to overpower you. And it's really weak people who try to project onto you a spirit of rejection in order so that they now could come and overpower you. And that is really weak people that do that. A strong person will not do that, because a strong person have the confidence that they could deal with you on the level that you are a strong person too. A weak person has to weaken you in order to feel stronger than you. But a strong person does not have to weaken you in order to feel stronger than you. A strong person actually wants somebody that is strong like themselves. Because they want somebody that if today, tomorrow they fall and they don't have the strength, that the strength in the other person could hold them up for the time being. And you could hold them up and them could hold you up. But a lot of people is intimidated by the strength of a confident person, a person who knows who they are and who knows their own self-worth. And therefore, in order to be with you, they have to bring your self-worth down in order to feel strong to be with you. Otherwise, they can't be with you. Because then you may see that they're not so strong and they don't want you to see that. So sometimes the problem with you, that rejection is not even to do with you as a person. So you have to realize, listen, I could treat myself, and that is what I did. I treat myself. I stopped. I realized, listen, you see this? This ain't making sense. And I tell myself, this is how I want to be treated. And I say, you treat yourself how you want it to be treated. And I start spending my money on me. I start traveling the world and enjoying life. And as I start treating me good, I realize other people started treating me even better. Because people now see that I was no longer sitting down waiting for somebody to pay attention to me, but I was paying attention to myself. And now I started having the attention of other people because I am paying attention to me. And now I start to attract people to me who really will appreciate me. Now, there are still always going to be people who will try to put forward that type of spirit of rejection on you, because this is what people know. But you don't have to allow it to get inside your spirit. And you need to be able to identify these people very early. And sometimes I don't say nothing to people, but I'm watching. I will just watch them and I smile when I realize what they're trying to do to me. But in my mind, I'm already setting up a barricade against what they're doing. Because I realize that they're trying to get into my spirit by trying to project that spirit of rejection upon me. And I have a way of just surprising people anyway. So when you feel that you rejected me, you might just be the one being rejected. You understand? Not me. So, I'm not going back to that place. Because if I am in the presence of somebody who does not see my worth, then I don't need to be in their presence. Because a child doesn't understand the value of a diamond. You give a child a diamond and they will throw it all about. All by the road. They might even throw it down the drain or flush it down the toilet. Because a child does not understand the value of a diamond. It takes somebody who knows the value of a diamond to appreciate a diamond. So if you're a diamond, you need to find somebody who knows the value of what a diamond is to appreciate you. You put yourself in the hands of somebody, a child, then they will throw you all over the place. Because they're telling themselves you must be glass. That is glass. Because a diamond could look like glass too. So they don't appreciate you. You have to first appreciate yourself in order for other people to appreciate you properly. So treat yourself well. You buy the best for yourself. You wear the best. You smell the best. You do the best for yourself. And I was just about to end, and the Holy Spirit reminded me of this. People who are in a place of rejection is people who will spend money to buy something for somebody who doesn't really appreciate them. You will spend big money to buy, whether it's a $500 perfume, but when you're going to buy something for yourself, you're studying to buy the cheapest, and you're studying to buy, nah, that ain't good enough. Nah, I find that too much of money. You wouldn't buy a dress $250 for the dress. I find that too much of money. Me ain't buying a dress now. But let the man who rejecting you play coming around, he play making style or whatever, the body coming up. You go in and buy a $500 perfume for him. You go in and buy $1,000 shoes for him. But you wouldn't spend $250 to buy a dress for yourself. That's when you know you really have a spirit of rejection. And you're suffering from low self-esteem. So spend your money and without hesitation on yourself. Because that $1,000 they would have spent and they could have given you 4 dresses. But you know what? You rather spend $1,000 on somebody who doesn't appreciate you to buy a shoe for them and you wouldn't buy a dress for yourself. Check yourself. Ask yourself, am I doing this? Am I mistreating myself in order to treat other people better? It ain't only the man, sometimes it's your family and all they would do that for. You would give them anything, but you wouldn't treat yourself. Stop it. Treat yourself. overcome that spirit of rejection. And when you start treating yourself, you'll realize you're not willing to settle for nothing less than the best. Because if you could do that for yourself, then you want somebody who would appreciate you the same way. But it's only when you start to treat yourself properly, other people will treat you the way you want to be treated. So I hope this message helps a lot. Until next time, bye. I love you. And I wish you all the love and light.